My name's Ann Timpe-Brennan, and I'm Sister Catherine Thomas's mom, and I'm also a Sarin, and I work as a healthcare attorney in Houston.
And I'm Sister Catherine Thomas. I'm a Dominican Sister of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, which is a religious community of women founded in 1997 as a new branch off of the 800-year-old Dominican tree with a mother house in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I entered the community 13 years ago, made my first profession, actually 10 years ago this summer, and my perpetual vows 5 years ago. And I've been, in the past 10 years since making vows, I've had the opportunity to be sent on for studies, and I've spent the 5 years teaching high school theology. I started discerning my vocation my second year of college. I had never thought about religious life before, but for the first time in my life, I really had just was alive in my faith. And I had a great group of friends who they loved to talk philosophy and talk theology together, and they loved to get together once a week for adoration and conversation before and afterwards. I had a prayer life, a personal prayer life for the first time in my life. And I felt more alive than I ever had before. And I remember staying up late with a friend, and he asked me what I wanted to do after college. And I realized I actually described the Dominican life. I was like, well, college is so great. We get to study together, and we can pray together, and we're in community. And I had learned enough about Dominicans, the order of preachers founded by St. Dominic, while I was studying at St. Louis University. I had learned enough about that order to know that what I had just described was basically what they did, to pray, study, preach in community in the context of a vibrant community life. And so I said out loud to that friend, oh, that sounds like what the Dominicans do. And then not too long after that, the same friend asked me to describe my perfect man. What's he like? And long story short, I described Jesus, realized it, and said out loud, that sounds like Jesus. And then I just remember just kind of stopping, like I'd been hit by a truck, because I realized if my perfect life is the Dominican life, and if the perfect man is Jesus, well, there's a place for that. It's called being a bride of Christ in the Dominican order, and maybe I really needed to think about that. So that was really my first inkling of religious life, and that was during my second year at St. Louis University.
So I was very excited when you were at St. Louis U, and he asked me to come one year for the Holy Week services and to go to them with you. I was really thrilled. And I can remember the day you told me you were thinking about religious life. It was the day that one of the readings of the service that day was about Abraham and Isaac. And I've always carried that because I can remember this depth of separation pain that hit, thinking of what Abraham went through, responding to God's demand to give up his child. And that, of course, I think a reflection at that point too is I didn't have the depth of faith that I thought I had. And so I carried this separation pain during the early years of your formation, and still had it strongly on the day you took your first vows. It's like, as a parent, it's like, you interview high schools, and you go with your daughter to high schools, and you find out about different schools, and you evaluate things. But religious life, parents aren't part of that. It's your journey, it's your call. So as parents, we were remotely learning about it. And, having grown up in the church pre-Vatican II with very strict German nuns as my teachers, older sisters as my teachers, I couldn't envision happiness for you. I could only imagine. Our sisters didn't smile. There was no sense of community life, what religious life was like. And that's the only thing I could relate to, was that's what you were going to. But 5 years later, I was able to experience through you and hearing about what you were doing in religious life, the beauty of the gift that you received. I could see your happiness. I could see how content you were and how deep down you knew in your heart this life was exactly what you were called to live. And you were in community with such wonderful, beautiful sisters that I would never want to take you away from that.
Every vocation is a love story. So whether it's marriage, religious life, priesthood, there's this love that becomes just this consuming desire for the other. Marriage is the vocation that most people are called to, and it's more understood in many families. And so the sacrifices that come with giving your daughter away or giving your son away when they get married, you expect those. But for a religious vocation, you don't know what those, beginning struggles are going to be like, and you're not, just like a parent isn't in the middle of the dating relationship between a couple falling in love. The parent's not in that relationship where a woman's getting wooed by Jesus and getting to know a community. And so, just like a parent, when they become when a child gets married, and when grandkids come along, they're part of that. It's the same. Parents don't stop being a part of their daughter's life when she becomes a sister. It's just, it looks different. And it takes longer to feel like you are actually a part of it. But it's very real.
So I was asked to give a talk at a Sarah Club about what it was like to have a sister in religious life. And one of the things I mentioned is what, and this was still during the separation pain time. But as I was growing in faith and coming to understand more the gifts you received and what God's plan was, and I guess my faith must have been growing, because at this point in time, one of the things that I'll tell parents who are struggling is pray, pray, pray for your child. Be a prayer warrior for your child. And if that doesn't carry you to acceptance, get out of God's way. If it's meant to be, if your child is meant to stay in religious life or the priesthood, let God work through them.
So my advice to young people who, as they're, in prayer and in life, asking God what His will is for their life, and maybe think about the pain or the lack of understanding that they might experience in their family. Your vocation isn't about you. It's about how God wants to love you and wants to love others through you. And that includes your family. You will be depriving your family of the graces God wants to give them to the degree that you say no to what He's asking of you. Your vocation is something that your family's going to share in. So, God might not be calling your mom and dad to make vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, or to be ordained, but they are being called. If you have a vocation, that means that part of their vocation as parents is to be the mother of a sister or the mother of a priest. And you're actually depriving them of part of their vocation if you don't say yes to yours. And you're actually being a channel of the grace of their vocation that can only come through you if you say yes to what God is asking of you. Because it's also what He's going to be asking of them and what He's giving them the grace for. They have the grace for it. If you have a kid who's called to be a priest, you have a grace to be the mom or the dad of a priest. And you're going to be a channel of grace for others through that. And to really trust that God is going to give that grace and the peace and the joy to the family, not just to you in your vocation. And I've seen it. And I've seen how both of my parents have just become even more mom and even more dad in responding to their being the mom and dad of a sister. So to the young men and the young women also, don't get in God's way of the graces that He wants to give your parents as the mother or father of a priest or of a consecrated man or woman, if that's what He's calling you to.